aan de desk zit, hebben we het dan...
Make some noise!
What is up everyone, Mark here. Welcome back to my channel, welcome if you're new. Today I'm going to be giving my top 10 for Eurovision 2024 now that we've all seen the show. Keep in mind, I've seen a lot of these acts live, and my experience watching them live in the arena will play a large role in my rankings this time around. With that said, let us begin with my number 10 spot, which is Latvia. This is Dawn's with the song Hollow, and it is a song that I honestly did not even expect to see in the grand final. From the very beginning, this song was predicted to not qualify. As a matter of fact, I believe it was last in the odds to qualify for semifinal 2, so I really didn't have high hopes for this song. However, I loved it from first listen. I was obsessed with this song, with the lyrics, with the meaning behind it, with Dawn's performance, with his staging in Supernova, and I actually felt that this was going to be another of those songs that I love that just happens to not qualify. However, Dawn's proved us very wrong. Dawn's not only qualified, but he finished in 16th place, which is pretty good, especially for a country like Latvia, which hasn't seen the final since 2016. I was ecstatic when Dawn's qualified. I remember being in the arena in semifinal 2, watching his performance, thinking it was the last time I would ever see him perform, and then the shock and just the joy of seeing him qualify, I will never forget that. That was honestly the highlight of my night. Seeing him especially be called first, that was insane. And that honestly meant a lot to me because I love this song, and I felt like one of the only people in the world that really appreciated it as much as I did. So seeing it qualify, seeing so many people actually like it too, really was a big deal to me, and I was also very happy for Dawn's. This is such a vulnerable song. Dawn's really pours a lot of his heart and soul into it, especially vocally. Now let's talk about the song itself. The song is about trying to live a life without selling yourself out, trying to live a life where you're being authentic and true to yourself, which is one of the hardest things to do, especially in today's world. Dawn's conveys the deep emotions of this song so well through his voice, especially watching his semifinal 2 performance where he's almost crying at the end. I mean, that's why this song really resonated with me from first listen, and I think also why it connected with so many people watching both in the arena and on TV. And that's why I think he did so well, because the song feels authentic and relatable to a lot of people. And so for me, I am going to give this song definitively a 9 out of 10. It is one of my favorites, has always been one of my favorites, and I am just so happy that Dawn's qualified and that this song is now getting all the love and recognition that it deserves. With that, let us move on to my number 9 spot, which is France. This is Slimane with the song Mon Amour, and actually the first song we ever got for this entire ESC season. And this song I actually wasn't too fond of at first. I mean, I liked it, I thought it was great. It was in my top 10 early on. It's nice, it's beautiful, and Slimane is a great artist, but the song itself has never quite resonated with me as much as a couple others, and that's why I don't have it much higher than 9th place. The song had always felt a bit similar to songs like Voila, or even Marco Mengoni's Due Vite from last year, but the reason it's in my top 10 in the first place is because of Slimane's performance of this song. He did a fantastic job delivering this on stage. The vocals, of course, were on point. His staging was elegant, simple, beautiful, everything I could have wanted. The camera work was also amazing. There's actually a video from behind the scenes showing the camera guy moving around him, and you have to think how difficult it must have been to capture all these angles, moving all around Slimane and not messing it up at all. That deserves a lot of credit. Slimane also just has such a great voice, and I love the part where he steps away from the microphone and just sings his heart out in this moment here. Now, yes, it is a bit of a gimmick, I'll give you that, but I think it worked really well. I think it honestly was a show-stopping moment for a lot of people in the arena. I mean, all of us were just staring at this in shock when we saw it live, and I think it was also a show-stopping moment for a lot of people watching at home. There's a reason this song got 4th place, and I think a lot of it boils down to this moment here. I think without this moment, it would just be another ballad, and not a lot of people would be impressed by it because we've seen so many songs like it before. So for me, I'm gonna give this song a 9 out of 10. Do I like the song itself? Not that much, it's okay, but Slimane brought his absolute best to this performance, and that is why the song deserves no less than a 9 out of 10. So, with all that, let us move on to my number 8 spot, which is Armenia. Now, this is one of the ones that I liked from first listen, but I didn't love until I saw it live. What I liked about the song in the beginning is that it uses so many traditional elements, and it is probably the most traditional sounding song Armenia has sent in about a decade now. So I love that about it. I love when countries send entries that are full of traditional elements that are unique to their cultures. It really is a celebration of Armenian culture. However, I felt that the song itself wasn't that interesting. Beyond that, I didn't find find that it took me to too many places. However, watching this live in the arena, this song really started to click with me, and I really appreciated how fun it was, how colorful the staging was, how much audience interaction there was. There are moments where the lead singer Jacqueline is doing a bit of a call and response, where she invites the audience to sing along, and I think that also helped them on TV, because you saw just how much the crowd was enjoying the song, how much engagement they had with it. Also, the staging was amazing. There was this really cool multi-level platform in the middle of the stage, which I thought worked really well. You had all the different musicians there playing their instruments, and I also liked the lead instrumentalist, Lewis, how he was jumping around on the very top. I'm kind of impressed how he didn't fall, but I also really liked how he played both the trumpet and the flute, and also how there were so many other instrumentalists on stage with their own different instruments, and I think that all just came together so well. I made this whole performance feel so much more lively, so much more vibrant, so much more dynamic than a lot of other entries that I think we've gotten this year, and that's why this really stood out. Even though the song itself might not be my total favorite, I still love it. I still love this performance, and I think this song deserves nothing short of a 9 out of 10. Love this entry, love the song, and I gotta say it is one of my new absolute favorites from this year. With that said, let us move on to my number 7 spot, which is Portugal. This is Yolanda with the song Grito, and one of my absolute favorites from this year. Portugal has been delivering such amazing songs over the past couple years. This song is of course no exception. And I think what Portugal does best are these more subtle, melancholy entries that really put you in a trance and take you to a whole different world. That is what this entry does, and I gotta say, when we saw this live in the arena, the whole crowd was silent. For every other act, there was cheering, clapping, whatever, but once Yolanda started to sing, it was silence. That is a testament to how powerful the song is intrinsically, how powerful Yolanda is as a singer, and the effect that her voice has. You could hear all the emotions and the depth in her voice, and it really is something that just makes you want to stop doing everything and listen. So that already accounts for so much of why I love the song, but also let's talk about the song itself. Not only is it very beautiful, but it carries a deeper meaning. The song is about Yolanda's struggles with mental health, and the song is very personal to her. And in my interpretation, the song, which is titled Scream, is in large part about this feeling of wanting to scream but not being able to. Having this tension, this turmoil, this chaos burning inside of you that just is begging to be let free. And the song, of course, builds up to this release of that energy, release of that scream, which is, of course, this moment here, which is also, personally, my favorite part of the song. Yeah, that moment sent chills down my spine. I think it had exactly the effect that Yolanda intended, and that's why I think the song did as well as it did. However, I do wish it got more televote points. The vast majority of points it got were from the juries, so I'm glad the juries appreciated it because it is a very vocally powerful song with some great staging as well, I might add, and some great choreography too. Love the dancers, but the public didn't give it that many points, and that's understandable. It's definitely a slower song. It's not as crazy or eye-catching as songs like, of course, Redemptive Tagi or Doomsday Blue, but I think it's great, and I think it did connect with a lot of people, even if they didn't vote for it. But I am aware that I like this song more than plenty of other people, and that's okay. The song just really clicked with me, really connected with me, and is one that I will remember for a long time. This song, for me, deserves nothing less than a 9 out of 10. It is one of the most haunting songs of this year, and one that I just am so happy made the top 10. With that said, let us move on to my number 6 spot, which is Italy. This is Angelina Mango with the song La Noia, and this is a song that was my second place for a long time, right behind, of course, Croatia. But just because it is here does not mean I don't still love it. The song is one that I listen to a lot. It is definitely one of the most streamed songs of mine on Spotify. I think Angelina is great. I actually got a picture with her when I was at Eurovision, so that was really cool. And she was very nice in person also. The only reason this song is not in my top 2 anymore is just because of the changes to the staging. And I think that is the biggest thing about this song that I wasn't super fond of. I loved her performance in the national final, Sanremo, and what made that work so well to me, what made it so impactful, was that it was just Angelina on stage by herself. She didn't need any special effects, any fancy costumes, or even any backup dancers. It was just so captivating watching her just by herself on stage with all that confidence and charisma, being so amazing and giving us such a great performance. But of course, in ESC, they tried to go a bit big with the staging, and by doing that, they had backup dancers, they had props, they had all this crazy staging to like catch your attention. And for me, I feel like that kind of took away from what was so special about this entry, and that was a shame, honestly, because I think what they were going for was good, but it just made this song stand out so much less. And also, we've seen so many songs this year that have, you know, a lead singer with a bunch of backup dancers. That's not really an original concept for any of us, and just for me, it really did take away from that impact. I think it would have been so much more powerful if we just had Angelina on stage by herself, giving us everything. Maybe you could have kept some of the special effects, maybe you even could have kept the throne, which I thought was a bit tacky, but I just feel like Angelina by herself with minimal staging would have been so much more interesting, so much more powerful, and I think also would have really driven home the message of the song about taking life into your own hands and making the most of even the most boring moments. That would have been excellent, but we didn't get that, unfortunately, and this was still great. Angelina was still great. The dancers were great too. Like, it was all great. It just wasn't as powerful as what we got originally, and that's why this song is now in my number 6 place. It's not bad at all, but that's just the reason why for me. So regardless, this song I still think deserves a 9 out of 10. It is still one of my favorites from this year, and it still is a standout performance. So that aside, let us move on to my top 5, beginning with the Netherlands. This is Joost Klein with the song Europapa, and I know what a lot of you were saying, this has been disqualified, why is it here? Well, the reason it's here is because it is still one of my favorite acts, and I think Joost is amazing, and I think he deserves a spot on my list. Europapa is one of the catchiest and also one of the most popular songs of this competition, even if it wasn't in the grand final. Even with the disqualification fiasco, which I will talk a bit more about later on, Europapa is still an extremely popular song that is doing very well in all the charts, in streaming and everything. Last I checked, Europapa was viral 50 top 3 in the US, a country that I can confidently say doesn't know much about Eurovision. That is super cool to see, and I'm glad that he's getting such international recognition. But let's talk about the song itself. The song itself is incredible. It is really fun, really catchy. It has a rave part, and it's about Joost basically doing a road trip, going around to all these different countries, eating fish and chips, eating escargot, going to Italy, going to Germany, going to France, going everywhere, and really experiencing and celebrating Europe overall. The song is really about the world having no boundaries and everyone coming together, and that's based off of something his father had told him at a young age, which was, and I quote, "The world has no boundaries." So that message alone is a big reason why I love the song, and for context, Joost had lost both of his parents at a very young age, so the song really carries a lot of emotional weight for him, and the song really connects with me because of that. I think it is really beautiful that he's able to turn this painful experience into a call for unity and love and peace. And that is why this song is so special to not only myself, but to so many people around the world. So with all that said, let's talk about Joost's performance in semifinal 2, which is of course the only performance we have to go off of. Unfortunately, as we know, he was not in the grand final, but I did get a chance to see him in semifinal 2, being actually in the arena watching him live, and I loved his performance. I thought it was so fun, so energetic, and I also loved that he was saying like, "I can't hear you" every couple seconds, because we were already screaming the lyrics to his song, and that just made us scream even louder, which I think definitely got picked up in the TV recording. I'm sure you can actually hear us all screaming as one, which is honestly great. It shows how much people love the song, how much we all connect with it. It's a song that really has it all. It's funny, it's energetic, but it also is meaningful. The staging I thought was kind of cool, actually. I wasn't super fond of the chicken guy at first, but, you know, I've gotten used to it, and I like that the staging is just funny and quirky and everything, at least until that last part, where Joost looks directly at the camera and speaks to his father, saying those final lines of, "Look, Dad, I listen to you." And I like that there's actually subtitles. That's the first time ever in Eurovision history that we've gotten actual subtitles. You might be saying Constructed 2022. I wouldn't consider those subtitles, not like this. So I'm glad they made that exception for this song. I think it made it so much more impactful and also drove home the meaning for people who don't speak Dutch. I also love the last frame where you have Joost hanging his head with the words "from me to my parents" in the background. Beautiful, powerful, everything I could have wanted and more. Love this song, love this performance, and I love Joost Klein. So I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10, one of my absolute favorites this year. Now let's talk for a couple seconds about the disqualification. You know, there was this allegation that Joost had threatened a camera person. Of course, we don't have the full story. There's no footage of it from what I could find. What we know is that he apparently touched the camera, and that's what he got disqualified for because this person pressed charges. Again, all of this is alleged. I wasn't there, but just from what I can tell, personally, given the information I have at this moment right now, which may or may not be true, I understand why he was disqualified. I don't think it should have happened. I don't think I would have made that call if I was in the EBU. And I also saw Avatros, which came out and said that it was very disproportionate. So if even the broadcaster is saying that, maybe it really was disproportionate. They probably know more than I do, but I really wish that Joost was able to perform in the grand final. Again, I understand why he wasn't, but I think he's amazing. And I think he would have done well. I think he really would have done well. We saw those jury points that were apparently released for him, but of course those were made amid his absence, and the juries were only going off an old recording, so who knows? He might have done very, very well, and it's a shame that he'll never be able to have that moment unless he, of course, comes back in the future. We will see. But with that said, let us move on to my top 4, beginning with Ukraine. This is Alyona and Jerry Heil with the song Teresa Maria. And like with a lot of other songs, this has been one of my favorites for a while now. I loved them from Vidbir, all the way back in Vidbir, which is the Ukrainian national selection, and I thought they did an amazing job with that performance. The song is very powerful and dynamic, and what makes it stand out for me is the blend of these melancholy, deep vocals from Jerry Heil with this lighter, more upbeat part from Alyona, this amazing rap segment that that I think works very well. And if you don't know, I've been a big fan of Jerry Heil for a long time. She was my winner for Video last year, and even though she didn't win, I still listened to a lot of her music, and I really was hoping that she would get the chance to go to ESC, and now of course she has, and she did great. I will say I was a bit nervous about what the staging would look like, because we saw this in Vidbeer, and there were all these tech issues and issues with the sound mixing, so I really had no idea what this was going to look like or even sound like in ESC. However, they did not disappoint. This staging is actually one of the biggest reasons why I like the song even more now. Like for instance, Jerry Heil walking up that rock. As you see those lights pouring over the sky, and as we know, those are not meteors. If you've seen footage from what's going on in that country right now, you would know what those represent. I'm not sure I'm allowed to talk about it here, but if you don't know, those lights are not meteors. So that was a really powerful visual. I also love during the rap segment where you have those shadows behind alyona, giving the staging a very haunting feel to it. And I of course also really adore the last effect on stage, which is of course all of these women lying down together in this spectacular, almost heavenly image that reminds me of a lot of different paintings that we've seen from things like cathedrals and churches and museums and everything. So that really was spectacular and honestly just a work of art. I also like the costumes. They kind of remind me of Lorene's outfit from Tattoo last year, but still very cool looking and definitely very distinctive. And I also love in the beginning how Jerry Heil takes off her hood, throws it away, and also of course when alyona unclips her hair was a very awesome moment, and I think it looked amazing on TV. So all of those different little things worked super well here and made this one of the most standout performances of the night for me. And that's why for me this song gets a 9.5 out of 10. It is so powerful, so interesting. The staging is great. The vocals obviously are amazing. The song is also about empowerment and uses the figures Mother Teresa and Mary as symbols for peace, justice, and unity. If this song had won, I would not have been upset at all. I would actually have been very happy. I think alyona and Jerry Heil are both incredible artists and delivered one of the best performances we've seen from Ukraine. Last thing before I move on is that this song went second, which usually is the worst time for a song to perform, but they still got top 3, which is a testament to how great they were. With that said, let us move on to my top 3, beginning with Switzerland. This is Nemo with the song The Code, and of course the winner of this year. This is one that I had low on my list for a little while, just because the song itself was never quite my cup of tea. I like the song, it's very catchy, it's very fun, but I never really clicked with it, I never found it that unique, and it didn't really stand out much to me, besides of course the opera part, which as you might know, I really love. However, when we saw this live in the pre-parties, I knew this was going to be something special, and I knew that Nemo was going to give us something that we were certainly not expecting. And of course in ESC that was true. Nemo gave us one of the most physically demanding performances that we've seen since of course Loreen last year, and a performance that just blew me away. Nemo's singing while spinning around on this giant disc, while jumping off this disc, while jumping around on stage and doing all this crazy stuff. Like, it is such a physical performance. The way they're able to still have great vocals while moving around so much is amazing to me. Also, not to mention while balancing on this giant disc thing. I was so nervous for them. I thought they were gonna like fall off and hit their head or something, or miss one step and mess up the whole performance, but they didn't. I don't know how they learned how to use that disc thing, but they were quite good at it. Even if those shoes were specially made for it, it was still super impressive that they were able to sing with all of that choreography. And there's also that one part where they're leaning back on the disc where I was so nervous. I was like, if I was doing that, I would have fallen right over. So I really was so impressed with this performance, and I just loved everything, honestly everything about it. I got to see this up close, and just watching it in person was so cool to me. And you just see all the things that go on behind the scenes. You have those guys jumping on stage to help Nemo with the jumps and also moving the disc around, and there's so much that goes into this behind the scenes that we just don't acknowledge that I think deserves a lot more credit. This is really just one of the most technically challenging performances by far this year, and for that, this really did deserve the win. I mean, this is incredible. When it comes to my ranking, I will say the song itself, it's never been my thing. I now understand that the lyrics are about Nemo discovering that they are non-binary and becoming comfortable with that identity, but the only reason it is in my number 3 spot is because I like my top 2 just a little bit more. So for me, I'm gonna give this a 9.5 out of 10, very close to a 10 out of 10, but I want to reserve that for just my top 2, which are my absolute favorite songs of this year. With that, I want to begin with my second place, which is Ireland. This is Bambie Thug with the song Doomsday Blue, and this is a song that was never on my top 10. I did not give it nearly enough credit when I saw it for the first time. And to be fair, that's because the song is so different. I thought it was a bit messy and disjointed, and we saw the staging, of course, in the Late Late Show in Ireland, which I thought was a bit bland and basic, and I thought it was just a bit too camp, and none of it really worked for me. I just didn't click with it. I didn't understand it. And honestly, looking back, I get it. We didn't know much about this song. Bambie didn't have a giant production behind them, and we also never really saw this in front of a huge crowd, so there was not a lot of ways for me to judge this song that well. So because of that, the song never really was on my radar until I saw the rehearsal clips ahead of semifinal 1. Then I was like, okay, this is not what I expected. This is actually a lot more interesting than I was expecting, and the camera work and the choreography is so unique. Of course, that was only a snippet. It was not until I saw this live in the arena where Bambie Thug was right in front of me that I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. My jaw was on the floor, and honestly, I will never forget watching this for the first time in the arena. I mean, no one had any idea what to expect, and none of us were expecting that. And honestly, after that, I was like, you know what? If that wins, I would be very, very happy. The staging is so innovative. We have, of course, Bambie in their costume. We have the chandelier. We have the different symbols on the floor and also on the LEDs. And we also, of course, have the dancer in full demon makeup, which is so cool looking. And we, of course, also have the costume change, which caught me off guard. I did not expect that actually watching this for the first time. And we have pyro and all these cool different camera angles and just so much going on here that works so well that made this amazing to watch both in the arena and on TV. And I also want to highlight one of my favorite parts of the song, this part which gives me chills. It is this moment here. Yeah, that was my absolute favorite part of the song, and the moment where I was like, you know what, this can win. That was when the song went from very far down on my list to being in my top 2. I really honestly was rooting for Ireland so much. I also love, of course, my number 1 spot, which we'll get into, but this song really was one of the ones that I was like, okay, I want Ireland to do well. I want to see a good result this year, because this performance was a stand out. I have never really had an experience like that watching a performance live before, so this absolutely deserved getting top 10. I'm actually very happy for Ireland getting 6th place. I think it's very fitting with the theme of this song, of course, and this is also Ireland's best result in, I believe, 24 years, so very happy for Bambie. I also really liked how they had OM script on their face and on their body as part of their makeup, which was really cool because they're able to spell different things with the script and actually send messages, of course, some political messages. And I also learned for the first time what OM script even is. I never knew about it, and now I know about it, and that's really cool. Really love that aspect of this entry and the way Bambie was able to use styling to elevate their performance and deliver unique messages. So with that, this song and this performance and everything about it gets a 10 out of 10. I'm a huge Bambie Thug fan now, and I really just loved every single thing that they gave us in Eurovision this year. So with that, we will now move on to my number 1 spot, my official winner for this year, and that is Croatia. This is Baby Lasagna with the song Tagi, and as you might know, also one of the most popular songs of the year. And this one was so much fun to watch in the arena. Everyone was dancing along, cheering, and just having a great time with this song. Baby Lasagna is one of the most charismatic performers we have ever gotten in Eurovision, and that showed in this performance. I actually got to see him in person at Wee Blog's meet and greet events, so that was really exciting, and he's a very sweet, nice person. In real life, he's very introverted and very low-key, which actually makes me more impressed by how he's able to have this different persona when he performs. And it's really cool to see how he's able to kind of balance these different personas, Marco with, of course, Baby Lasagna. So that makes me appreciate this performance even more. Again, this really was that song in the arena. It was amazing to see everyone so united by this song, honestly. Everyone doing the dances in unison, and I think that song really brought people together. It's a shame that Joost Klein could not be in the final because he also would have had that message of unity, but good thing Marco was there because this song really is what Eurovision is all about, bringing people together through music and dance. And I also want to talk about what the song itself is even about. The song is actually about young people in Croatia and also in other countries leaving the countryside for the cities or for better opportunities, and the anxiety that that brings with it. That is a huge demographic shift that is taking place in Croatia today, and I really appreciate that Marco is talking about a real issue that is happening that makes the song feel a lot more real. It's not just a joke, fun party song. There is a meaning behind it. There is a reason why it was made, and there was something that Marco was trying to say about this experience and about the feeling of leaving home for the first time. Of course, there are lyrics that are all about that, one of my favorite being Meow Cat Please Meow Back, and I like how Marco is able to use such silly lyrics to describe something that is so real and so scary for a lot of real people like myself and like Marco and like many of you watching right now. That's why I love this song a lot. I think it is so much fun, so exciting, and just one of the best that we've gotten this year. And of course, I'm very happy for Nemo and their win. They did an amazing job with their performance, their vocals, and everything, but I also really would have loved Baby Lasagna winning. I mean, second place is amazing too, but honestly, this song was just the one that did it for me and the one that I just clicked with the most this year. Of course, Doomsday Blue is also a favorite for me, so either of these could have won and I would have been super happy. But with that said, any of these, honestly, in my top 4, 5, 5, 6, 7. Any of these could have won, and I would have been happy to. So like, I love all of these songs in different ways for different reasons, and this year was honestly just so strong. So for me, of course, Tagi will get a 10 out of 10. What an amazing song. With that, this has really been my list, my final list for this year. There's really not much more to say besides this, other than what a strong year and what amazing acts we've gotten. I was able to discover so many amazing artists, of course, the artists in this top 10, but also other artists like Teodora and Gata and Kaylin and Maria Sati, and really learned so much about these different countries and their cultures through their songs and their music. Unfortunately, this year also had a lot of drama, which I will talk about in a separate video, which is my concert recap or concert review for ESC and my experience there being there in person. So stay tuned for that. But this for now is just a simple top 10 of my favorite songs of this year. Please let me know what your top songs are down below. Let me know your winner or also your full top 10 if you want to write that out. I really am curious to hear which songs you like, which are your favorites, if you agree, disagree with this list, and I really am excited to hear what you have to say. So with that said, thank you all so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. I know it is tough without Eurovision. I'm having my little post-Eurovision sadness, but it's okay. But with that said, thank you all once again, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.